Hello everyone, Gaara here and welcome to a brand new deck tech video. Today I'm gonna talk about the deck that I used to get to Legend this season because a lot of you guys were interested in that. And so without further ado, let's get right into it. So before I get into the deck list, I wanna say I could have used plenty of the other decks that I featured to get to Legend, but I played almost no Jade Druid and Jade Druid feels really overpowered, and I really wanted to figure out the best version of Jade Druid, just if I need it for an upcoming tournament. I also wanted to get some practice with the deck. So this was the final version that I used to get to Legend. I don't think it's the best archetype to choose to get to Legend just because of how the ladder works, because almost everyone is trying to counter Jade Druid. People playing, you know, Reno Priest with Skulking Geist, other Jade Druids, Aggro Druids, and Murloc Paladins. It doesn't feel that overpowered to play Jade Druid just because you don't have good matchups. Nobody's playing like Taunt Warrior or Control Priest, you know, slower decks where you would hard counter. People naturally just try to counter it, but you still get like fairly easy a 60% win rate if you play a very good tech deck and if you play it fairly well. This is why I decided to go for Jade Druid and go for a quick Legend rush, just because there's no real reason to it. Because I guess the main reason was because a lot of people are trolling me, "Oh Gaara, why are you not Legend yet?" Yeah, because I'm only playing fun decks and trying to make them work. So let's get into the deck list. What is there to say about Jade Druid in general? I think the only real thing you should focus on, besides mulliganing correctly in the matchups and playing it perfectly, is the tech cards. You have actually quite a few slots to decide what kind of tech cards you want to run. In this deck I have the Mind Control tech, the Fandral, I would count this also as a tech card, Spellbreaker, Big Game Hunter, Spreading Plague, and Primordial Drakes, and probably even the Malfurion, but at this point I would consider the Malfurion core. So it's around 8 cards you can switch around, and these are the cards that I decided to go for in the end. Why Primordial Drake? So it's not a big surprise. The main class you're facing on the ladder is Druid. For me it's consistently up to 50%. What is interesting with that number is that you face way more Aggro Druids, I would say, than Jade Druids, but still quite some Jade Druids in the end of the day. So Aggro Druid is the most common matchup if you want to climb from, let's say, rank 5 to Legend, and so you have to be good in that matchup. This is why I decided to go for the Primordial Drake. Primordial Drake is really good, especially as a Druid, because you get him out very fast. You play a lot of Ram cards, you have the Innervates, Wild Growth, you know, Jade Blossoms. You don't just play him on turn 8. Naturally, you would have a Primordial Drake ready once the opponent plays the Living Mana, so around turn 5, just with the nature of Ramp and Innervates. So that's really good. And I think you need it because you don't have Spell Power Swipe, you don't have Azure Drakes, you don't want to just lose to Living Mana, and you need to have a way to answer it. And Primordial Drake just seems to be the best against it. What I don't like about Primordial Drake is it's not that good versus control decks. It's not good when you're ahead on the board, but obviously it's extremely good when you're behind on the board, so huge upside. What also speaks for the Primordial Drake is definitely the Priest matchup. Priest is the second most common class on the ladder right now. There's still way less Priests than Druids overall, but still the second most popular class, and Primordial Drake is good versus all sorts of Priests, especially if you get him out early, just because Priest again struggles with dealing with 4 attack minions, and that's like the best 4 attack minion you can play right now. So that's why Primordial Drakes. As I said, the other cards are core, the remaining tech cards are Spreading Plague, Big Game Hunter, Spellbreaker, and MC Tech. I featured MC Tech already in my previous video. I think it's a very nice card. A lot of people started to play around it, and this makes obviously MC Tech worse. I still like to have one MC Tech. The problem is if you run out of cards, which sometimes happens, then the MC Tech is just like a very bad card. And also Priest, if you face it, Priest very rarely plays into an MC Tech, and against Pirate Warrior it's also not so good, but it's good in the mirror and it's good versus Aggro Druid. But the thing with MC Tech is if you steal something bad, you know, then you might still lose the game. So, but I still like it. I mainly like it for Jade Druid mirrors. I would definitely run 1 MC Tech. 2, which I was running before, is a little bit too much, I think. So for now I decided to go for 1. It's still nice, but it's not nice enough to have 2 of them in your deck. So the Spellbreaker, I think a core card, just because of Paladins. You literally can't beat Paladin if you don't have a Silence. If you run Keep of the Grove or Spellbreaker, is kind of like up to preference. Both cards are good. So with Keep of the Grove you have flexibility, but you trade for stats. And yeah, both are good, but it's kind of like what you prefer. So I would definitely run one silence at least. I think it's strong. If you don't have cards like, you know, Big Game Hunter or whatever, you can play 2 Spellbreakers, it's fine. Again, it's like I don't like to have 2 copies of tech cards just because, yeah, if you draw them both and they're not good for the matchup or in the situation, you know, they feel very clunky. Big Game Hunter, again, is a tech card that I see a lot on Asia. A lot of Jade Druids are playing this. Well, it's very natural because the Druid is really bad at dealing with high attack or high stats minions. The interesting thing about Big Game Hunter is it is good versus Bittertide Hydra, so even against aggressive decks you find some use for the Big Game Hunter. Pirate Warrior is playing Bittertide Hydras. Other Jade Druids will definitely play at some point big minions which you can BGH. Lich King is a popular card, so there's definitely a lot of targets for the Big Game Hunter. Yeah, it is not the greatest card in the world, but we have no mulch. We were running mulch before, and Druid really lacks any heart removal. Yeah, Big Game Hunter didn't feel too bad whatsoever. Spreading Plague is like the only card I'm really not too sure about. Sometimes it's really good. If you face like random shamans or hunters, they absolutely can't do anything about the Plague if they don't have Devolve. Usually they need Devolve plus something else to deal with it, but even if they Devolve your Spreading Plague, you still have a full board of stuff. So if they don't have the Devolve, then Spreading Plague is just the nuts. What I really don't like about the card, again, against control decks, it's really bad. So the Primordial Drake and the Spreading Plague are both very bad cards versus control decks, especially when you're ahead. But yeah, you shouldn't lose against control decks with Jade Druid, so I'm just trying to improve with just playing perfectly. But it's rough actually with this list. If you're playing against a control deck and they have the Skull King Geist on 6, it's very likely you will run out of resources. But the meta right now is really just mainly aggro decks, like a lot of Murloc Paladins and aggro druids just try to bully the Jade Druid, so you try to build a deck as anti-aggro as possible. So this is the list that I decided to go for. Go to Legend pretty easily, I would say. I will also show you like my final game, I believe, and I'll be back right after. Alright, what is the final boss? It's getting late. Hunter, oh my god. This is for real.
Let the hunt begin. I must protect.
Okay, last time I kept Spreading Plague against Hunter, I got punished. Swipe should always be decent. Let's keep Wrath and Swipe. Just because they're decent. Oh my god, this is really a nice start. I can coin out Wild Growth into Idle Wrath as well. Okay, skip the 1. I have an MC tag. I'm not really super forced to clear his board. Obviously, MC tag would be like very greedy if I go for that. Let's just go for the Wild Growth. Because he doesn't really have a lot of pressure on me. My hand is like, I really require or rely on top decking here. Hard. Alright, let's see. I'm very curious. This is kind of very important what this is. That's huge. Interesting. I think I go for it right now.
The circle of life is over.
I really like the spiders because it's his Houndmaster thing. This is what I mean. This is like one of the strongest cards like to ramp out for sure. Because this card on turn 7 is already strong, but getting it out this early is ridiculous. I really tend to keep Malfurion way more often. Like if I have some sort of ramp. It's just the best card to ramp out. It's crazy. I can just kill it. Like I really like to cycle the ref if possible. Just because I need some draws. I can just like I really want some draws. It's good card. I think this makes things really rough for him. It's a good trade for the spider. But now what do you do? Like he can't play a 5-drop. Just get eaten by the spider, so he has to go for a bow and then it's nice. And Aya trades with his high main on 6. I could also go for the Jade Spirit plus hero power, but I really want to have the Aya for the high main on 6. That's very nice. That's also very nice. So I can trade hero power. I can actually go for the Nourish, but I really always prefer to have the board control. Play around Unleash Downs, obviously clear, play around a lot of cards. And I'm in an excellent spot. I have the Malfurion out, I have card draw, I have the board, my Jades are good. It's the second one. I don't think I will need the third one. Again, going for the clear. Would be actually interesting to fight Rexar, the Deathstalker. That's fine. Druids are spreading Plague now. Spreading Unleash. That's pretty nice. Yeah, probably go face. I can clear. But this is just too good. Oh, I didn't play around that. I was like, how can you punish me? I guess that's how. That's crazy. It's actually a sick punish. Ah, yeah, now I can punish him. Like, big time. I got a bad one, but still. And yep, that's my legend game. Oh yeah, Super Dumpster, here we go. And I hope you guys enjoy this. It's actually kind of funny that I face Hunter as a final boss after all these priests and mages and Jade Druids, Aggro Druids, Murloc Paladins. And that's it for today's deck tech video. I hope you guys enjoyed it as always. I'll be back tomorrow with another video, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching and see you guys then. Peace!